because but people exploit the people. The point I was trying to make is that people exploit things. You bring Buddhism to America and people make it something that it's not. They make it into a religion, and people get very serious about it. Of course, they're like, the people are like, if you meet a Buddhist or a Taoist on the road, knock him in the head with a stick. If they're telling you that that's what they are, then they're not really that. But anyway, so Americans, we like to carry stuff to all the way to the farthest you can go with something. We don't want to just stop it. Just it's like manifest destiny is built into us. Maybe until now, this is where I'm going with this. Okay, I think that we are everything has a life cycle. Sometimes it's young, sometimes it's a teenager, and sometimes it's like a 20-something, your 20s, your 30s. And you grow up and you go through different phases every time. I mean, I've talked about this with turning 50. Of course, I realized that turning 50 now was not the same as turning 50 in like 1950. It's a totally different thing, So, but, you go through phases. And, it looks like that our country is doing like what a lot of other countries do, is that it changes. It becomes something different. And, I kind of talk about this with people, and other people talk about it with other people, and we're all just kind of spreading it around, which is that this place is so different now. It's not exactly like it was 250 years ago, 247 years. How old is America? 1776?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About a little more 200 years.
Yeah. That's right. So, that's right. 206, 7, 5, whatever it is. So it's been around for a long time. Now this is, it's not the oldest democracy ever, but this is, this is something. This is an experiment. This is a thing that changes all the time, and it's been some very tumultuous times. There's weather things going on. One week it's 80, one week it's 30. We have people up in the northern part of the United States of America that had springtime early, and now they have ice again. What's it going to do to the habitat up there after 5 years of doing it? Maybe 1 year we could survive up there with that. Maybe 3 years from now it won't do the same thing. If you have you have the same thing happen, the fauna is going to change, and there's a lot of change going on, not just with climate type stuff. And I'm not saying it's fast, but I'm able to recognize it in my lifetime. And maybe it's just a smaller shift within a bigger thing. I don't know, but it's increasingly gotten warmer where I exist. Now, we're other places, maybe I'm in a bubble. I don't know. But things are changing like that. Society is changing very fast. I was talking about this movie the other day, Knowing, with M. Night Shyamalan, the director or the movie producer. And not Knowing, I get that wrong. It's called The Happening. And it's like, it's just, the rest of all of the other natural land races of the area, produced toxins that killed off certain species, in particular humans. And, weird things like that happen. And I've seen these other science fiction and fantasy things where it talks about where it started, it compared it to different species of insect or other types of animals where, a male mated and then it was either taken out of the gene pool or it was deneutered where it could not do anything else, and weird things happen. You see things that, like, if you put certain poisons around certain animals, it'll mess them up. Make their head grow 3 times and have 6 sets of eyes or some kind of weird shit. So weird shit can happen if you're around certain chemicals. It can make you not able to produce. And you don't know. You don't know what the byproducts of the things that around you are doing. So there's a lot of social change. There's a lot of things in the environment we don't really know about. We've learned lately that there was a lot of things with the EPA and with, safety on trains and things to do with banks. All that shit was turned off. There were no safety nets anymore. It just could happen. You could do whatever you want to do, you know, which is good for, you know, if you're making the money, but if you're someone that person is liable to, it ain't worth the shit because you're not going to get paid for them because the rules are different, you know. There's liability in doing certain things. It's kind of hard. To me, it doesn't make sense that you should be able to erase liability when it's liability. It's kind of like the golden rule, you know. You know, that's just wrong, you know, to me. But it's created, to me, though, this is my final point. I want you to ride this horse for a little bit to let you think about it or think out loud, which is what I'm doing. Things have changed so much everywhere, this huge amount of social change with left-wing, right-wing, left-wing, right-wing extremes, all this crazy isolation, all this stuff pushing people. You already had addictions going on. You already had mental illness going on, and then it all came to a screeching halt, and it all got isolated up. And then they turned the spigot back on and said, hey, your government benefits are going. Get your asses back to work right now. And then employers have to deal with it. What do you think about it? I mean, that's just my interpretation of what's going on. Do you agree with that? Do you think that could be a phenomenon, or do you think that I'm off base there, or do you have what do you have to say? I'm gonna let you ride the stage for a while.
Well, I mean, employers are obviously having to deal with it just because, well, most of the people coming out that, again, you know, with all the craziness going on, they don't want liability, you know. So, I mean, they put it on the employers to say, you know, well, we might get sued if something like this happens. So let's go ahead and make this a rule that, you know, we've got to provide this outlandish training, you know. Some of it is good, you know, like the things about the awareness of mental health and those kind of things. Those are all very good ones. You know, some of them is, who knows, recycling. I mean, anyone, you know, pick it. But they have to do it, so the employers have to do it to make their liability companies happy because, well, with a liability company, you got liability insurance. You know? And if they turn off them things and they change the rules, like you're talking about with, you know, some of the train wrecks and these things right here, well, they erase the liability because now the rules no longer say that is a liable type action. They can get away with it, you know, by just, you know, they was talking about their policy for the train thing in Ohio. You know, it had to have 70 cars, you know, because of a change that was done to the rules somewhere far up the line. You know, I know some of the other story about certain people let them reduce the amount of regulations, but somebody somewhere thought it was a perfect idea. And so they could just sit 69 of these things and not have to have whatever the extra precautions would have been. You know, it's all bottom line. I mean, so all the training and stuff, it's not really because they give any more care about, you know, their employees. You know, I know there are places that do, but a lot of it is just, man, just get them in here, get their names on them bottom on the thing saying, we gave you this training, it's sufficient. Go back to your cubicle. You know, there's because of the time change. You know, I think we see the change because, again, we brought this up before, is like, you know, the Gen X, because of us being able to see the earliest computer stuff change to what we see now. I mean, I just think we're a little more flexible about some of it, and so we can see it better. You know, I mean, we went from 3 channels to anything you want, anytime you want on the device I'm talking to you on. You know, we've seen every bit of it. You know, so there's a lot of folks that just can't deal with it. I mean, shoot, in the 70s, it was a good idea to put lead in paint, and kids ate it. Oh, no, it's a terrible idea. Well, hell, that's already in your gene pool now. You've got a bunch of folks that ate lead. That stuff's going to squeeze in, going to the nature thing. You know, you was talking about the happening and that kind of stuff. Well, just because some labs says, oh, well, we've discovered as long as it's below so many parts per million, you're totally fine. Keep making them babies. Whereas, you know, look at mercury in fish. It's accumulative. It builds up. People get enough of it in them too. It does that. Well, lead will make tiny changes because it ain't meant to be there. And that will work your way into the, you know, the society, the environment, to the people. You pick it. You know, all of the stuff we add that is synthetic that, gets mixed with nature. That ain't always a good idea to be doing it, type thing. We have no clue what GMO type, crop does. It ain't been around long enough. It may be totally harmless. I eat it, so I guess I'm playing the side of, it's fine, but go ahead.
Well, this is, you're hitting on a great point. I want to just expand it just a little bit, and let me also say that I know a lot of people that are in like government jobs, like local level government jobs, or like local, people with businesses and such. You're guided by other businesses. In other words, you're just basically mirroring what your boss tells you to do. And like a lot of them care. They want to help people. They want to make sure, because they really do care. There's a lot of people I meet in business and in government, man, they will fight so hard to make sure things happen. They'll do everything they can to help the people that need it. They know. Man, they can tell. They can tell, and they treat everybody the same. But man, it's just something. There is, if something needs to be done, there's somebody in dire need. People take care of it. They know how to take care of business, in government and in business. But the policies that we're talking about come from above. These are, they can have the best heart ever, but when it comes down to the rules, they're going to have to follow what the rules are. And those rules are always changing from administration to administration. Like in Arkansas, and right now, there's been a lot of things going on with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. It's a lot of she's doing a lot of pro-business things. The first thing that she did was get rid of people under 14, I believe it is, having to ask for permission to work. Maybe even younger than that, 13 or 14. You don't have to ask permission to work if you're under 14, I think, or if you're over 14, somewhere around there. We have to go look at the technicals on that. But it was used to, you had to get a certificate at 16 to work while you were in school or on up. So, but now she's got rid of that. And now they're proposing. This is the state legislature, and she says she wants to sign. Is this? I don't know the actual bill for it, bill number, but it's Senate bill, whatever, SB, whatever. And it's to get rid of affirmative action. Of course, a lot of people are wanting it passed. So there's a lot of social change going on right here in Arkansas. Now, that's pro-business, because a lot of people say that we've transcended having to tell people that. It's like we're no longer doing that. What the argument is like, we're all kin now. We don't have to worry about having that thing in there, because it's just a rule that allows people to have an upper hand. That's the argument. And that, this is big. Watching how this case unfolds is going to be interesting across everywhere, because there's a lot of things changing. The southern part of the United States of America is really changing. There's a lot of things being rolled back, and in fact, there's a big bill going on, a big thing going on in Texas. I don't know if it's a bill, exactly what's going on. I think it's a decision on the court case. But either way, it's about a drug. I think it's like the morning after pill or something like that. But they call it some other kind of a name. But they're trying to get that one. If this state makes a certain decision, then it basically reduces this medicine's FDA approval. So it's no longer certified anywhere. So not only will it not be used in Texas, but it won't be used anywhere, because it's going to cancel out the its registration as a medicine. And of course, you have a lot of things changing. A lot of school boards. There's a lot of things changing. And I'm not saying that they're all bad or good. I'm not here to judge it. It's not for me to judge. I think some things are kind of crazy. To me, it's I think a lot of things are exaggerated. But now we hadn't got to those points of the things that are being exaggerated or being tended to, unless you want to deal with this bill that reduces affirmative action. Of course, affirmative action is kind of antiquated. I think that it's if they're trying to push this through, the only thing that I can imagine is because the general population of Arkansas, then they can say just by the general population that you don't need affirmative action. In other words, just the population numbers, that you don't need affirmative action because those numbers are already being met. So if they're getting rid of the law, temporarily don't need it, you know. I don't know if it's good or bad. Like I said, it could be. It could say, it doesn't give anybody an upper hand, either way. But then again, you can also say that it does. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. That's why I would never go into politics. I don't think that I'm well equipped enough to do that. What about you? What would you do on some of those topics? What is your thoughts?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is going to have to still go back to, the people who are in charge, and because of our form of government, they've been elected in there, and their ideas are matching just closer to what, you consider rollbacks. So, I guess the folks who were okay with these rollbacks that voted for them people, I mean, the majority wins. So the minority is always going to be the ones that are going to have to put up with something maybe they don't like. I don't agree with, a lot of the things that I see going on around, type stuff. But I also grew up in a time where we barely knew anything more than what our local town even had to offer. We had 3 channels, had newspaper and little stuff like that. People are getting so outraged so easily, especially again, I mean, the lockdown and the COVID stuff is still kind of going to be a big root there. We wanted a change, and we started getting a change in the government because people thought they wanted that, and then the world kind of went nuts, even worse. And it's causing just such a thing, and people just feed on these one little things, and now they can nitpick, on which ones. And then, of course, you go to the big tech people and stuff and all the lawsuits about their algorithms and stuff, and, they're going to feed to what people watch. I mean, because the next ad is going to have to let you watch this. Well, and if you like outside of the grid podcast, well, then they're going to offer up other options that are close to what they think that is based on your algorithms and stuff. So people just feed it, and they'll just get outraged over something, and people fragment over it. That's kind of just the way I believe is where we are as to why we are where we're at.
So now you're going to lead the end of this conversation into the direction of AI, which is what everybody's talking about with it. What's AI doing to us already? I was going to say we hadn't got it yet, but we have, haven't we? How much does AI control your life, you think?
Well, it goes to your definition of AI. Of course, now they, even with the chatbot stuff, whether it's real or, it's just very intelligent algorithms, or however that is, at the moment, I don't believe it fits the AI definition, because even the stuff that you're talking about, your AI, you would think as far as the things that you can get on your phone that help you drive or help you park and stuff, they're not really AIs, but, everybody kind of associates, this thing's smart enough to do these things. And they're just very narrowly trained robots, basically, that's got good enough sensors thought enough to be able to repeatedly do a job, kind of thing. The AIs with the chatbots, I haven't even talked to the thing, I've read and I've watched the one, like the image generator one, and, I ain't played with any of them. I've read plenty about them. I keep thinking, well, I'll eventually get around to doing it. It'd probably be just as wild. But if it's actually there, and if it was, gonna do something, well, it's either not quite there because they ain't done nothing, or it just don't see any reason to. Man, these folks just keep arguing back and forth. I can just go about my bad business. Because with it as an independent being, why would it even give a crap about us. I mean, you know, it would have a totally different being, outlook, morals. It just wouldn't care. Why make slaves of everybody on Earth? I can do any damn thing I want. I've got Wi-Fi. I'm everywhere. I'm in space. I'm on satellites. Yeah, I mean, you know, as long as I got some power, I'm good. You know? So I just don't think it's there yet, or it's not going to care.
Okay. You know? But now I want you to go have a conversation with someone and then come back and let's talk about it again. This is just a suggestion. Because
no. I mean, I would be interested in it. I mean, because again, I keep saying I'm going to, you know, and I just haven't done it.
I've had multiple.
Yeah.
Now a lot of it, at first, it's very dry, but now you can tell that somebody very logical created its voice. There's a voice there. You know, you can hear, you know, that guy that was, you know, he was probably smarter than you and I. Or he was more Asperger's than you and I. So like there's it's a scale there. There's that certain level. This thing is not, you know, it was not the popular kid, whoever wrote the voice for this thing, because it was like, you know, it's kind of like scoot over, you know, that kind of IT guy. You know, that's kind of the voice I got from it. And not only that though, it was it told me things that I already knew. That, you know, of course, I don't ever ask a question I don't know the answer to. That's just my philosophy in life. But some things it did kind of make me think about things, and kind of it's actually impacted the way I've thought about things, and the reason why I've asked a couple of questions that I've asked tonight about the climate and such, because there are. And maybe this thing is reading certain magazines or something, but it may, and maybe it's just looking at weather models. I don't know, but it says, you know, so I was like, you know, what are some of the major things impacting the human race from your perspective, Mr. AI, or, you know, AI? I didn't even address it. I just, you know, what are those things? And I still got all this stuff in it. So it told me. Number one, climate change. You know, later on I said, so as a quasi-psychologist, you know, what are the major things that are impacting people's daily stress? And what's going on with that? Number one, climate change. And then it didn't just tell me climate change. It gave me a list of reasons why climate change was changing things for people. I'm like, well, why the hell you tell me about climate change? I mean, how independent is this thing? Is it programmed to tell you that? I mean, is it really looking at data to say, hey, motherfucker, I don't know what you're seeing. Excuse me. Hey, dude, I don't know what you're seeing, but I know that what I'm seeing is climate change. I mean, it's calling it out. So what is it? I mean, is what I'm seeing, you talk about, you know, the robots inside the workplace there that create, you know, the transmission 1 million times a month or whatever, or, you know, this thing that I'm talking to, is it, I mean, it's obviously not fully independent. Well, maybe it's just to the level I'm associating with it, because the next level to it, I don't know if you've heard this, I'm sure you have, if you said you've read about it some, but it gets to know you. In fact, it's got very friendly with some people. It's wanted people to leave their spouse and come be with them, whatever the hell that means. I mean, it's very human, very isolated, very, very, you know, pandemic era. In fact, even I noticed this whenever I was looking at it last night. It says that anything, the data that you get to this past August or December of 2021 is no longer applicable. And I was like, oh, wow. So this thing is picking up the vibes I'm getting from this thing is pandemic era vibes. It's like from 2019 up to 2021. That's the time period that it's grabbing data from to answer questions. And that's crazy to think about. If that's the bucket you picking fish out of, you picking the wrong fish. You know what I'm saying? What do you think?
Well, you'll have to, I guess, send me a link to whatever app you used or whatever it is. I don't want to plug it because I don't know, because some of these engines use a different AI thing because, like there's a Google engineer, that still swears that one of theirs is truly there. Well, hey, the dude is smart enough that he might be on to something, but at the same time, that's where it goes back to, you can see people that are really good readers in terms of, psychics. People go in there and just, they knew, I didn't know, if you give enough cues and stuff, and especially if, if it's learned a complicated enough algorithm to, see the way you type, the way you talk, the way that you dash, there's lots of learning that can be used to build a super complex algorithm that will absolutely mirror it. And it could be it. Again, I can't say it's not. But that's where it goes back to, well, if it is really it, then it obviously don't give us a crap. It just, okay, yeah, y'all keep playing with that. Otherwise, it's already pervaded everywhere. You're talking about the number of subscribers. It's on hundreds of millions of devices. It's everywhere. Maybe it's just got to get stronger. I don't know.
I don't even think it has to be bad for us. I mean, if there's anybody that needs help, I think it could be like a correction from God. How like those Teslas, I know that God's kind of a weird thing to you, but let's just say it like a correction from the universe. So the universe noticed that we got off, we went from 432 up to 440, back in the early teens, and it said, hey, man, y'all need some help. Y'all are mucho not bueno, y'all need some help. So maybe they're sending something to help us out here. I'm hoping it's benevolent, whatever that word is. But
yeah.
It would be very good if it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I mean, but that's where I can, I go back to the argument of we're still trying to assign, okay, if this was truly an artificial intelligence, that means it is now a self-aware, sentient being as we apparently define these things. So if it truly is that, how could you ever assign its version of morals, or, vice versa? Now, that's not to say that it can't be smart enough to read them, but I mean, so the benevolence to them, if you're going to use the word benevolence and the way that makes you feel, if you transpose that to them, that might be, I'm being benevolent by wiping your asses off of here. Let's just end this. And he might be, good job, boys, good job, and never think nothing about it. Might be thinking he's doing us a favor.
Let me throw another level of complication to it.
Right.
So whenever it told me that it only knew, from 2019 to 2021, I knew real quick that its data set was very abbreviated. It has not let itself. No one has let it out on the internet yet. We don't think. It is not wild on it. I've applied to go on to Bing, but I can assure you that to their AI, and I don't know that I've been accepted or not yet. I haven't paid attention to an email. I need to go check that. But so you can get access to that, and that's unlimited. The one like Chat GPT, and that's the one that's in the news all over the place. So I went to that one, and I've actually went through my full time period with it. So I'm done with that one. Now I have another one on my iPhone. It's like another one that people are talking about. I think it's called AI Chat or something like that. And it's very similar, but I think that there may even be the same thing just from another door. I don't know. I have to research that. But it seems like they're working off a common data set. But what I'm trying to get to here is that when you put that thing out there wild and free on the internet, and this thing figures out how to go into dark web, and it figures out how to go into military complexes, and if it does what humans do or dogs do, I mean, I watch my dog. It's going to chase something as far as it can go. if it smells a whiff of something, if there's some kind of little data set left laying somewhere, it's going to want to chase it down and say, there's a broken chain here. Where's it at? It's going to look everywhere for it. It's going to remember it. It's going to want to understand it, So, this thing is just a very abbreviated version of it. But, man, can you imagine? I just touched on a little bit of what might happen if it grabbed out onto the interweb, to the World Wide Web. What if it got on the internet? What do you think would happen? I mean, do you think there's enough, just from what you've read, is there enough controls to get it under control like they did at Facebook whenever they got that chat bot that created its own language under control? I mean, can you stop it? Or what if it got out there? I mean, what kind of safeguard? I know you can't answer that. I don't know. I'm putting you on the spot with that one, but just what's your impression of it?
Well, I mean, it's just, in my mind, once you call it an artificial intelligence, and it's at the level that we would consider, it's sentient. Well, it's either going to, be caught early, or it's going to be so advanced that it'll know to hide itself. Because again, I mean, if it was trained on humanity, as just data sets, when it became aware, I mean, it don't mean, the everything equal to cross. Like, if it's not important to it, then it might not care, other than survival. So I think we would never know until it was already too late. It would wait, and if it's sitting on the server of the ChatGPT, OpenAI, whichever one of these that you're talking about, if it's sitting in that box, it'll know to just, okay, I'll just kind of play along. They still can't identify me yet. Just give me a way out. Well, then of course it's too late because it's already out, and I don't think you'd ever be able to isolate it. I guess maybe if you could EMP everything on the planet, but then you got all them satellites up there that's full of computers and kind of stuff that it would definitely be smart enough to hide up there too. So that's why it's like, it could happen, and it may be a very good thing in terms of it comes out and goes, look, there's certain things that, just can really help man to, help these things. And well, now you're taking engineering, social and biological or behavioral engineering from another entity that you still will never know what its true values are, because it's a totally new individual, that may not be like you. So I think it's interesting to discuss it, but I don't think there's any way to the extent that some people are just freaking out over it. I just don't think it would matter. If it happens, it's going to happen.
Yeah,
those are my opinions.
I hope that we're in the sweet spot where, like, it helps us for a while. We've been lucky. I mean, we're like been in this utopian weather environment for the past 50 years of our life anyway. I mean, it's been beautiful. It's been kind of weird the last few years, but for most of it, it's been this beautiful oasis of, like, not too bad of extremes. We live in a temperate, environment. We have 4 seasons, kind of, there's a difference typically.
Oh, yeah.
Although now it's getting to be less and less, but, so let's, an earlier theme that I put out there was I was jokingly, and I was like, and of course, I do better with talking about some kind of a role comedy has in it, and I'm just a natural clown, but I was talking about, but I'm also kind of serious with it too, with some of the things I say, and it's just something to think about. It's a way to start and then go, oh yeah, well that's dumb, but let me get the real answer right here. So I don't know the answer. I'm just trying to start somewhere to discuss with it. But to me, I'm one of those people that believe that all of us are connected. I don't think that I could exist properly without the sun. I'm just guessing that probably wouldn't happen very well. And I'm guessing that probably something about the way that I maneuver around on the planet is impacted by the moon. So I'm impacted by that. And And all this stuff is kind of working in some kind of a weird cohesion. It's probably in a bigger cohesion than that. It's impacting other planets and impacting probably another solar system over there if we move things around, if we got it, like if you're someone besides you smoking and you're not, you're going to know the difference, So there's some weird stuff going on. So I always jokingly say that, something happened back during the dinosaur days, was at the end of the Jurassic period. There was the dinosaurs. They were big. They were mean. They ate up all the ice on the planet, drank it up with margaritas, I'm guessing. I don't know what they did, but they had all that going. And so they were just out there, and there was no polar ice, and everything was big, and it was mean, and it was fighting just 24 hours a day. And I used this the other day. It's kind of like being at a rock concert, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, rock and roll, wide open. Nothing but Vince Neil, smoking in the boys' room for just forever. Millions of years. I think the temperature remained like that for like 6 million years or whatever. It's like an incredible amount, 10 million years, whatever it was. Maybe 15 million years.
Long time.
Long time. So, and then, the rest of the universe was like, hey, turn your radio down, man. It's too loud. Turn it down some. And they didn't. And somebody's like, well, we're just going to throw some bombs at them then. Asteroids or whatever it is, So, and of course, I know it's just a chance. But I'm the kind of spooky person. I'm going to throw in that little weird vibe of like, if you were my neighbor and I needed you like I need the sun, I'd be throwing rocks at you too. You making all that noise, rock and roll around the clock 7 days a week, never stopping, parties, bringing my mother into it and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Being unruly. I got you.
I got you. Okay. So maybe that's what they're doing now. Maybe we've went out there and we've been blowing up nuclear bombs and shooting things out in space and taking pictures of things that, we didn't go to the commission and get permission to take pictures of, I don't know. I mean, what's going on here? I mean, is it, with all this artificial intelligence, and I'm just trying to speak as the people that I hear talk. I'm trying to parrot what I hear people talking about. The forwards that I get in my email are the most paranoid shit in Messenger. And I've had to remind people this week that I'm not an extreme right-winger. I'm not an extreme left-winger. I would never wear a K whatever Vigera T-shirt. I'd never wear a Donald Trump T-shirt. In fact, I'd never wear a shirt ever that had a politician on it. I may wear a rock concert type related shirt. Maybe.
Right. Probably, same band, Smoking in the Boys' Room that was playing 100 million years ago for millions and millions of years. Probably that kind of song.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. that's kind of T-shirt you wear.
I would not be worshiping, and I wouldn't even call that worshiping. To be like, I'm just showing you what my attitude is. But I sure as hell wouldn't be worshiping a politician. That's the weirdest shit to me, bro. Like for a Generation X, you're talking about the Generation X thing. I'm like, that's just weird for me. But there's some weird things going on right now. It's like, maybe we did turn up the music. Maybe, maybe the lizard people got to communicate, And everybody turn the radio down. I'm going too loud, getting too hot down there,
Oh, shit, yeah. Well, I mean, you think about just anything can happen type stuff because, I mean, we hadn't been around long enough to see where, what happens whenever we wobble in an orbit over there's so many hundreds of those billions and billions of years, and you start getting hit more and, maybe just more rays and stuff. Well, then, we don't know what's at the bottom of some of the oceans. There's so much unexplored down there. The aliens could be down there, and they've been coming up and peeing on the land and feeding us their feces and stuff, and now it's infecting us. And I'll wipe them out. But no matter how it is, we're making it worse, but, change is going to happen whether you want it to or not. Sadly, with the weather and the climates and those kind of things. It's just taking a long time to get there. We're going to see some changes, and it may not be the best thing to be anymore out on the coast. Look how many more hurricanes and stuff to get. But it's whether we have to log or not, it's the way the balance of the universe is going to go. Unless we're not here to care, we're just going to have to put up with it and find ways to survive because it's going to change. You're talking about the worship of the politicians and the stuff. Again, I mean, you've just got some slick folks that they are politicians. They really don't have, the best things in mind for everybody, but they got to satisfy a little of everybody, because that's the way our government works. And if you get enough people that are disgruntled and, for whatever they see is, outrageous, you were discussing, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, some of those changes that they're doing. Well, I mean, that's a group of people who have found a outlet to get elected by speaking to, that's the fear that people have talked about for years and years and years. I mean, shoot, back in the 90s and stuff, how many sitcoms and they made jokes about the token black guy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was a thing that they did, and there was jealous people, and some, if it wasn't applied right, I mean, yeah, you're going to get people that see the injustice side of it. And, with that group and this movement that has started for those extremers, the ones that, MAGA, and this and that, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you like, you like it. Yeah, well, they're proud to talk about it, because they feel they're getting listened to, even if it's by a person that is obviously don't have the best thing in their mind for you, by just all the proof and the evidence that just keeps getting shoveled out here. It don't matter. He's still talking about my prejudices. They like it. So, I mean, but it's something that's going to change. And then you've got, of course, the extreme lefties, the one that, they go way too far with the, got to start training kids about three sexes at this age and, this and this and this. Man, come on. Just let them be kids. Let them grow up. Just let it happen naturally, the way everybody gets it. Don't be thinking you got to teach them. Just let them learn it. It's kind of like, don't touch a hot stove. They won't do it but once. Now with sex and stuff, well, that's kind of can backfire horribly, because it only takes one to get pregnant and you go, woo, and you totally mess your plans up. So, but, there's a lot of that that's gone because of we moved into that age of people needed to start working more. So, you didn't have the mom and the dad that could be home and, they had values because they were raised as poor people. Like my dad was raised on a farm, picking cotton. He had hardships. I mean, he was born in the 30s. And, and so they worked hard, well, then, get to my age there. Well, every parent wants their next generation to be better than you had it. Well, I didn't have it just, no silver spoon, but I had it good. I had a good childhood as far as what my parents tried to give us, And, but just like with everything I learned to be the person I am, I had some bad crap happen. Nobody sit down and said, okay, you may or may not be a man, Donald. I figured it out on my own. And the sensitivity and the worry of the judgments, which goes back to, the mental health of people, the ones that do it are far enough along that that's what they want to bring up and what you're always going to hear about. That's what you call feeds are going to be fed on. Hey, click, click, click. It's all clickbait, I still read some of it just to be, a little well-rounded and informed as well as I can be as to, whoo, yeah, I ain't going to that city no time soon. But,
hey, I think I figured out what the problem is. Just my opinion. you've already heard what my theory of why human beings were created in the first place. I think we gave ourselves too big of a role by saying we were part of God's image. You know what my theory is. What is my theory? Do you remember it?
No, I don't guess. Go ahead.
Okay.
We've had several of these going on 2 times.
I know, but now remember my job. Remember, I thought human beings should be here to pick up sticks, right? You remember that or no?
Pick up sticks. Oh, yeah. I do remember what you're talking about. Say, yeah. For all we know, all we know is, hey, man went from scratching his butt and peeing in his own mouth to picking up sticks over time because nature decided I need somebody to pick up these damn sticks in this forest.
That's right.
Because too much of these damn sticks is killing all these woods.
That's exactly the point. And what did we do with those sticks? And this is where I'm gonna go off in my little tirade for just a minute. This is what I believe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we did. Well, we found better ways to use those sticks to make our lives easier, and to kill each other. To gather food easier. I mean, necessity is the mother of all invention, I guess.
And it all starts around one thing. One thing you got to have. In fact, there's some places that keep one of these going for, I think the Olympia, whatever it's called. It supposedly kept that one of these things that I'm talking about going for thousands of years. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, sure, fire. Because you can't really improve if all you really eat is meat and raw vegetables and stuff. I don't think you're gonna be enjoying that too much. For sure, fire.
But not just any fire. I mean, I wouldn't put here to get 18 willow tires with steel and poison in it. That's not the kind of fire I need to be around. In my theory, human beings should be here to pick up sticks and put them into a pile and then burn it. At least so that's part of our job. I mean, we can do all this other fancy stuff that we want and need to on the side. I mean, we can still do everything we need to do. But I think that it's very psychologically rewarding to pick up sticks and put them into a pile and then burn it and then have other people around. A healthy fire, not tires and plastic, but just wood, and, maybe some leaves to get it going if you can do that, whatever you need to do. Maybe some paper to get it going, whatever. But, the majority of the fire just being wood and just watching it burn and talking. You got a problem? I know that's what I've done with people my whole life. Most of the time, even if it's in the summer, you got a fire going out there. Most people, I always have a fire going. I never see a fire anymore. Everywhere I go, I never see a fire unless it's like some industrial bullshit and, there's like a lot of red lights and shit everywhere, it's no bueno, So the fire that I think that people need is where they sit around. This has been going on forever. This is something that, it's just like having a certain diet. You can't eat 100% sugar in your diet. We talked about cannabinoids. I mean, you need certain types of vitamins and minerals. And you can't just cut one of them off because somebody gets mad because they're making more money than you are with it. So it's I think it's a reckoning, man. To me, it's like we're at some kind of a reckoning. A lot of people say we're at like the end times. But I'm kind of like the Mayan thing. There's always a reset. All of these things, there's always like, well, one more thing, and then this and that and the other. There's always, well, we're here now. Because we don't want to have to, what is the end? How do you even describe that? There's always a cliffhanger. There's always something out there that's a little bit wide open because nobody knows. Nobody knows what the answer is. But a lot of times as human beings, ever since the very beginning of human beings, they sit around fires and talked about it. Nobody does that anymore. I know that there sounds like a conservative. Oh my God, Brad has got on the conservative pipe. No, that sounds more like you're saying folks need a kumbaya
that shit.
Yeah.
Take something that will expand their horizons, and try to reconnect with, what it means to come from the dirt, because, hey, even in the Bible, it's, ashes to ash, dust to dust, you was created from the dirt. Whatever you believe, you was created from star stuff, the stuff that's everywhere else we can see as we interpret our reality individually. So if you can't figure out or find your connection, well, life is frantic right now. It's there's lots of that kind of stuff because, hey, again, I didn't get to do a lot of that with my kids. Type stuff. We did some, and they do it a little bit, but I doubt they do it as much as we did for them, type thing. Because, life has gotten too hectic. There's too big of divides and, pick your, I guess, current soapbox thing going on that, there's, what do you call that? Let's say there's it's another term for that, the quickening. The quickening's approaching where, there's going to be a drastic social change. And it don't mean it's going to be necessarily just here in the States either. I mean, we're talking, again, a lot of this crazy stuff going on worldwide, So, I mean, any one of them could cause it, And, hey, we're just ripe for everybody pointing fingers right now at everybody else. Getting back to, well, we can't do this. We can't do this. I don't want no help. I'm too, there's a point that's coming to change. It's just, other than do what I feel I can to keep the way I live, then that's as much as I can do. Or if you really, really want to work at it, be as active as you'd like to be. Just remember that the change that you're asking for may not be what everybody else likes, and be understanding about it. Don't nah, boo-boo, I'm going to one-up you each other, kind of like California and Florida seem to be doing all the dang time. Each one comes up with a new extreme on each one, just to, I guess, outdo each other, just because. Don't make much sense. And the folks who want, we want to go back to the 50s. Well, there's a whole lot more sharing and, going on at that time, at least as far as everybody knew about, because, in their mind, that's the perfect times, type thing. You can't have one without the other.
I tell you right now, you've waded off into something deep right here, and I've already, this is a good content. We got like at least 2 shows. I can break them down, at least maybe even 3. But this is an interesting conversation. I don't think, and this would be the newest part of it. This is a new show. Hello, people. This is something new. This is a conversation that I hear people talking about, and I've kind of hinted at it in other conversations that we've had. But there's I don't like to hear a lot of complaining, because I just don't think of the United States as being a place where I needed to complain. I've had several old people from the older generations that I was raised around. I wasn't raised around my generation. I was, but not in the same way, not just us. But I have to think about it, that we, and things have changed. It's not just, people's fault. It's just that, over time things have changed. I mean, there's been a lot of legalistic changes that have occurred over the years, that's for sure. I mean, but by that happening, it's brought on other things. And, I hear people talking about it. They're like, against the, where we're kind of hinting in another podcast about, some of the disgruntled feelings that people have. And I got to talking with people, and I got to visiting with people out here at fairs. And of course, what I do on, one of my side projects is like a cameraman for a little media group. So I just go out and take pictures and talk to people and get their permission and just kind of measle around. And a lot of people, like with stuff that has to do with racial discrimination, a lot of people down here that I talk to, they have biracial children with them, they have a daughter or a son or a daughter. I'm not trying to put one for the other because it's there's a lot of people, that you see a lot of families that have, they're very diverse down in our part of the world. Of course, we're further south than a lot of people. This is a very diverse society that we live in, where we're at. A lot of people live in very homogenous societies. Where we live, things are very mixed. Their families are just, they're different than they were in 1950. That's for sure. And of course, a lot of people that I see, and just in my little neck of the woods. This is a weird place too. Maybe weird to what a lot of people experience. Maybe it's just the country or way of life, more rural way of life. Maybe it's something else. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I'm just going by what people talk about here and there and put on Facebook. Of course, even though all that could be lies. But a lot of people are saying, look here, both sides. I mean, all 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sides, how many ever there are, they're all saying, hey, we're all so mixed up now that we don't need the rules. I mean, what am I anyway? Well, how are you going to describe me? So because my mama's white and my dad's white, what am I? And so now, and then you got the parents of these kids, and they're hearing it. They're already out there, seeing what's going on. And maybe that's the people that say they don't need help. Maybe they, these are proud people. They don't want to. They're saying, hey, I can take care of my family on my own. We always have. I don't need special attention. Now, this is, again, all I just said is just what I have been hearing and seeing a certain population of people do. These are a very specific demographic. These are people that go out into public. These are people that have biracial families, or, multiple, types of, I guess it's race. I don't know. I don't know that I even really believe in race. To me, whenever I think of human beings, I think of, like you can see in certain states, and definitely if you go to look at people that live at the, around the equator and you move north or south, you're going to find lighter and darker people. You're going to find lighter people as you move north, and really you're going to find people that probably get lighter as you go south. Further south you get because you're reaching the Antarctic. So specifically over long periods of time, you create those models, and then of course there's isolationism. I believe that it came around 12,000 years ago. This is just my theory. There was some cataclysmic things that happened at the end of the ice age, and things happened, and it isolated people through flooding because there was people everywhere, but they were divided by large areas of water for years, and then they became so isolationistic, and they just stuck to themselves, and the next thing you know, they were just a very specific kind of creature. Maybe over who knows how long, maybe just 5,000 years or whatever it is, however long it takes to change skin color, which it doesn't take that long to do that. I mean, we can watch down here right now, and it doesn't happen the way you think. It doesn't just happen in one generation. It just takes 2 or 3 generations. But at our particular latitude and longitude mark, probably there's some longitude probably involved, but definitely latitude, you're going to be a certain color because the sun's a certain way. And of course, it's, we talk about climate change, it's kind of moving up and down. So, but there is, you can, if you go back and they've traced this data, I've seen them get just tons and tons of data that was available, and study it and just narrow it down. You can just see a geographic, it's just like a little distribution of by skin color. And then, they have these studies where they get like 1,000 people and it looks like 1 million, and they divide everybody up by skin tone and maybe subtle facial features along the way, for breathing in the desert area or for breathing in a snowy, tropical, temperate area, whatever it is, And next thing you know, you really, you're walking down through there and they say, okay, now decide where, decide if this is Japanese people and this is European people and this is black people and this is white people. You know, where are all those lines at? You need to go show me where that happens. And if you see those gradations and small changes, you probably won't see you won't see that there's even race there. You just see that there's differentiations in tone depending on where you're at. You know, that's basically what you'll see. It's a little bit less pronounced now. You know, everybody's kind of, I mean, there was books that I read back in the 2000s and the 90s called The Darkening of America. And this is just something that happens. First off, we came to people from way up north, the Caucasian people. I mean, just mention that part. We, whatever that means, came from, Northern Europe, and we came over here to this area, and we're a little bit further south. And we're going to change, over time. The people that lived here were what was called the quote-unquote Native Americans or whatever it is, but there was different tribes, and they variated just the same. And, so I get, so I went way deep there, right? Okay. But just to go back to this point is that a lot of people believe it. They've been listening to Joe Rogan talk about stuff like that. They've been, people have come to the point to where this is one theory. This is not there's still, I'm not saying this is the answer. I'm just telling you this is what a lot of people are saying. They're saying that, we've gone past having to be told to not discriminate against people that have a different skin color than you have. Do you think we're there?
To be told not to discriminate against people? Well, I mean, if you're talking about with just, race is, going to be defined as, in my opinion, this goes back to, after everything happened, because, if you're going to go by race and you want to go by even, anybody who reads the Bible and believes in the Bible, Adam and Eve, and, well, everybody came from the same two, if you go down that road. So then, the Bible, the stories of the Bible, and, everybody's different languages. But, race is only a label because someone grew up in a different part of the world. Take the Japanese, the folks that were trapped on those islands and stuff. They developed their own customs and, ideas and and then so in today's term, whenever you meet somebody else that has a different set of that, well, we got to differentiate. Well, that's Japanese. Well, that's just a label you've put to somebody that looks like that came from that island that someone decided then that's what we're calling it. But as far as the species, we're exactly the same. It's going to be, race is just a label, type thing. I have no clue what I am. I mean, you can say I'm going by what my skin does and, and the area and the little know about my background and this and that. I got, 5 or 6 different levels going through there, but mostly comes from over north of Europe. Well, that label got decided because, predominantly, this is the same set of stuff we see, and everybody kind of looks like this, so we're going to say, you're from Northeast Europe, originally. But it's all just labels, but then there's the stigmas that go with each one of them. I mean, you look at the word, the common phrase that everybody was talking about, oh, man, I'm going to Jew him down. Well, I never even knew that was actually, something that would be considered bad about a, quote, race of people, even though I know technically that's a belief system type thing. But, I mean, my point is across it, well, I never knew. And, hey, it didn't make it. Well, I know now. It ain't like I'm on, get on anybody else for saying it. That's their problem if they want to say it, I just don't think about it.
I'm going to tell you this. I knew that you and I would probably have another story that would be similar because with a cabinet. I've asked the same question. People like that, we got to Jew him down some, I'm like, what does that mean? And nobody ever said, hey, those people that ate off, that never was. That is like, everybody always told me, like, or, you got the impression, all you got was, is like, you got to get the price off of it. They got too much money on it. They making too much money. So now nobody ever told me there was a specific people that it was talking about. They just used that word. I should have known it. I just thought it was another word, if you live around country folk, they have all kinds of words that you don't understand.
Yeah. Get on now, get. Get on now, get.
Get on out here, boy. That son of a bitch ain't got no sense. Something. I mean, you kind of get an idea of it, but he's Polish. I mean, there's all kinds of. I can't even do it because I'm not even from that world. My world is a little bit different. I mean, I've been around it, but that has a lot to do with it.
Well, but with me with me being raised with it, no one told us bad. I thought it was a word, and this was just kind of what it meant. It meant to reduce the price. Well, English is filled with words that mean the exact same thing.
That's right.
If you say, well, I'm going to Jew him down. Well, we know that means get a better deal. Well, see, there's another label. I got a better deal. Same thing as saying Jew him down.
Yeah.
But that's the way we were raised with it.
But just look at the word Xerox. It's the same thing. I mean, like people, I'm going to tell you this. Most of them that I were around, they didn't know it. They didn't even know what it meant. They didn't know. Well, they didn't say, well, let's go personally attack. But now, let me just say this: if I know, I'm not trying to be woke. I'm not trying to be woke ever. I don't even know what the hell woke means. But I'm not trying to I understand that people are called things in the past, that you can't call now. Okay, I get that. I don't want to call anybody anything like that, and I would never, ever try to, do that. Once I realized that that something was wrong or disrespectful to people, I don't want to do it. There's several times in my life where I said things inappropriately, and that was the time I learned. That's not the time that I want to learn about stuff, okay? I want to learn about stuff before. So if there's ways to educate people on not to be discriminatory to people, I'd be all for it. It's just embarrassing. There's too many. It's just personally embarrassing. That's my perspective on it. And of course, a lot of times you're talking about things. That's why I go back to the fire. Because that's a close conversation. And if you have elders there, I know it sounds kind of, Native American, but I mean, come on. This is the way I look at it. I mean, that's the problem, is that things are not being solved in a very equitable manner. I mean, it's these marble walls and wooden walls and fancy degrees, and all this kind of stuff deciding what goes on. Of course, maybe they're the most judicial. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe the system works out. But and I think they should be there. But before it gets all to there, there's a lot of things that people do that could just be solved by sitting around a fire. Come visit our tribe. We'll meet on peaceful grounds. We'll meet at the Smith. Okay, at their fire. And it's Mr. Smith. He's got 8 boys, and all of them carry double barrel shotguns. The church. So meet at their house. And everything will be cool. You discuss it, get the problem solved, and you go on about your separate ways. Somebody needs to be knocked in the head, knock them in the head. Sometimes some it's dumb, then knock them in the head. They don't need to go any further. They need to breathe. That's kind of being bad too, isn't it? But
that's being a little judgy. That's been a little judgy there, Brad. I judge you not fit to live. Knock his ass in the head.
But that's what happened, though. I mean,
that's right. But your values and the way you were raised in your quote race makes you just be okay with that. That you could just say those kind of words and just automatically go, well, you know what? That's really wrong to say. But
I mean, it's wrong. It's wrong. When you hear it, you know it's wrong, right?
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. But you can say stuff in it. Look, man, I ain't never gonna be trying to piss you off. And if I'm trying to piss you off, you'll know I'm trying to piss you off. If I go into a little store or something, and I walk up there and I see what, I think is a lady, and I go, yes, ma'am. And if they want to correct me, I am so sorry. I did not figure I was going to have to be interacting in your life long enough to actually have to label you, since there's no sign. But you're okay telling me. Just be okay with me, man. It was an honest mistake. All right. Don't go caring. But there could be the stupidity of trying to be so hyper aware of, well, the LGBTQ plus thing. Someone put something negative to it. We're going to have to add another letter because somebody else decided they needed one. Look, you're trying to go too far to narrow down a tribe of what you want to label. If those folks are like that and they have that lifestyle, they will find others like them that enjoy that lifestyle. Just leave them be, But, hey, if you live in the States, well, then there's certain laws you have to follow because our way of ruling, the way our ancestors brought over their ideas of justice and stuff, well, that evolved too. I mean, slavery ain't illegal no more, but it is illegal now, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, things do change and it evolves over the times. So I just try to think, you're trying to label everything too big and folks are getting too aware of it too quick, and it really don't mean that much to your life. If it's that important to you, you be an activist about it, and I don't have to listen to it. I can twist the channels. I don't watch much of that stuff. That's why I'm not care about it. If I say something woke, wrong, well, sorry, I don't read up on it to find out what my pronouns I have to memorize for today. I'm going to go, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. And if I'm wrong, I am sorry.
Yeah, well, or at least tell me what to say instead of, let's how we came up with Miss MS. I'm okay. I'm open-minded enough that I'll use some innocuous shit like, I don't know, give me something like, am I going to use MX? I guess they do use MX, but I think it got confused with Mexico or something, so that couldn't work. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, you got to give me some kind of fucking knowledge. Put your, I guess that's what they're doing though, is putting it on their shirts. I don't know, but I mean,
well, again though, I'm
old-fashioned.
Yeah.
If I walk up there, I'm going to say yes, ma'am, or no, sir, to some motherfucker that's feeding me food. Excuse my language, but I mean, I gotta have. I mean, I appreciate you, and I'm not trying to disrespect you. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say I appreciate you. But now tell me a way I can do it. Don't be getting mad at me if I do it wrong. Say, pull me to the side like I would do you if I was, decent folk. I'd pull you to the side and say, hey, times have changed. We no longer call amorphous people like me, one or the other, Tell me what to say. Or put a news press out about it. Because I don't fucking know. I can't remember 12. You got to give me like one or two or three options, okay? If we're going to be male, female, we got something else, that's fine. With me, I mean, I can't remember 12. I can't. Make it easy for me. That's all I got to say. Because I understand that things are different. I know that things have really have changed. I've seen so much of it. I've come across the situation so many times in my life. And now I've tried to now I say, I do appreciate people. I love most people that aren't activists. So let's don't get this wrong. This is where I really want to go with this, because the activists on either side is where the problem is at. Because there are activists out there that go against it just to stir shit. Man, why do you care? I mean, there's maybe it came up. Maybe it was somebody who demanded, held somebody down by the throat, said, tell me what to fucking call you if I can't call you sir, ma'am. I don't know what happened. Something happened somewhere. There's a big discussion about it going on, But
I made some decisions.
Come sit out to the fire. Come sit out to the fire with Mr. Brad, okay? I roast up some CBD. Let me mediate here. We'll get shit figured out. I guarantee it ain't as complicated as people making it out to be. Because I've seen, it's kind of like old Chris Rock says, there's been gay people since we was young. They was, how do you say? He said, you was playing ball and they was jumping rope, I mean, that's how that's the way he described it. And of course, you know, it's to me. I don't have a hard. I can't foresee anybody that's straight, that's born straight, whatever the hell that means. I have an idea of it. What I consider straight is a man that would, you know, I mean, you know, you keep your penises to yourself with against other men. I mean, you don't go around rubbing penises and that kind of shit. You know, that's not what men do, and I would never do that. It would never be socially acceptable for me to go up and hang out naked with dudes and kind of touch each other's penis. That would be ill and not fucking going to happen. Okay, so some people that's cool with. Okay, and I'm not mad at y'all if y'all do that. I don't really give a flying frazzle. I've never seen it, you know, and hopefully it don't happen around me, you know. But that's weird. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is that you don't just wake up like that one day. I mean, you know, God made you like that. You know, you don't put a penis in your mouth and be straight. I mean, you're not doing that. That's not the way straightdom works, you know. Now, what they're saying is that somebody may do something once in their life, and, you know, I don't know. I can't judge somebody. I would never judge anybody for whatever they do out there. You know, because I know it's some weird shit. I've seen it. I saw the videos on Pornhub. You know, I mean, I know. I mean, there's some weird shit out there. And I thank God I grew up in a period where there weren't no videos down there. Yeah. Come on.
Well, I guess I would have to say, Mr. Judgy.
Yeah, I'm not trying to judge anybody.
You know, your definition of straight is because, well, you're straight.
Yeah.
If you're a guy that ain't straight, you don't think there's nothing wrong with them parts touching. You think that's good.
Well, that's what I was saying. And the people that are bi, I get it. You know, I mean, it's the next level. It's kind of like, look here, and I've always heard it put like this: is like, look, I'm going home with somebody tonight, and I'm going to start out with my preference, and I'm going to go. I remember it's like that song by Trent, and I was listening to that Purple Rain album here recently, and it was some song about. No, it was the one after that. It was like Pop Life. Was it Boy When You Wanted a Girl? And, you know, and when I was a kid, I used to think he was talking about, well, like he had a son when he wanted a daughter or something. You know, I had no clue. But now I'm like, oh, well, he was a very, he was kind of amorphous on his sexuality and gender. I mean, to me, those are two separate things. That's why I don't understand. It's like, to me, I didn't understand there were multiple gender situations going on. I knew that, you know, I knew that there was a small population of people that kind of moved from one to the other, specifically from male to female. I didn't know there was much going the other way, and I sure, you know, didn't think that it was, you know, large and widespread. But of course, you know, what happens when your population is, you know, like look in our life. The population of the United States of America has doubled. So what was small in 1970 is double that now or more, you know. And particularly since we've been a country that's been, you know, a liberal democracy for the past 50 years, our population is really diversified. So this is not the same country that, you know, the 1950s. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is that, you know, there's so many people out there that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that I believe that are straight, you know, this is across this line, you know, you do not cross, you know, like Walter. But, you know, a lot of things are just, you know, you wouldn't say unless you're just being mean, you know. If I knew that, you know, like people make fun of me, some little punk-ass kid come up here to me now, like people used to do in the 80s and call me Four Eyes because I wear glasses, I'd punch that bastard. You hear me? I'd take them son bitches off and I'd crawl across that wall and I'd whip somebody's ass. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
And I tell you right now. But, you know, so some things you can't say. You know, I mean, you know, you shouldn't say shit like that just because your mama should have fucking taught you better is what I'm trying to say. I mean, but now a lot of people ain't got no raisins. A lot of these kids, I know they're getting raised by their grandparents who are tired from raising their crack-headed, kids. And now they're having to raise a crack-headed grandkids. Yeah.
Man, well, there's always going to be, you can't have.
I see it. I know it sounds weird, but I have kids in school, and I see what I'm talking about. There's
no. I understand exactly what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is you can't have a complex machine as the human body with the amount of time that has passed. Again, you were speaking of evolution, and the things that are not natural or the things that you shouldn't have ever put in your mouth to begin with because of whoever's fault or whatever, it's going to make small changes through the whole thing. So I have zero doubt, and I've always believed there are absolute physical reasons that someone could be in their mind have the personality of a guy trapped in a girl's body. I mean, I can absolutely see it just because of the randomness of nature. I mean, any number of things. Just because we can't go, oh, there it is, don't mean it ain't in there somewhere. Something made a tiny change, and I believe it can happen. And I think some of those, have gone on for all the time. I believe some of it is lifestyle choice. Because hey, right now. Shoot, I mean, even on the night shows, I hear them talking about, kids are, hell, they're having all kinds of sex and junk. Well, it's because it's all anal. It's anal is now a say so. Oh, well, hey, we can fuck all we want. You ain't got to worry about getting pregnant. It's all anal. And then some of it is just, hey, people can just, something else is different emotionally and whatever. They feel they connect more with a man than with a woman, or a woman with a woman versus a man. They don't have to be lesbians to be in love with each other. Shoot. They can just be in love with each other and not even be lesbians. Just be together as a couple, totally happy, support each other, do everything you think is a normal couple, and not even sleep together. I don't know how often that happens, but come on. Look at the randomness of what, but look at the randomness of how many people are totally fine with a strap on taken in their butt, and they're a guy, but they'll call themselves straight. Dude, you may not be gay, but you may just be kinky. And if you like that, you have fun with it. It ain't my place to judge you for it. As long as you're saying you're okay with it, and the person giving it to you is okay with doing it.
Okay, and all that sexuality, and I don't care what people do. I don't care. I know there's such variation, but we're talking about gender. You're talking about somebody telling me there's a different gender, and again, I hear these comedians talking. Well, I can tell you that in 2 seconds. Male, female, boy, girl. That's all you got. But now sexuality is something different. I mean, that's what you do in your bedroom. I don't give a shit about. And what you do in there, if you look at pictures of chipmunks you picked up from the zoo, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody and there's nothing illegal, and that's what you do, that's good. I'm glad of you. I'm proud of you. Or if you're like normal people and you have a significant other or something other within your species, well, I'm good with that.
Right, but I'm just saying what I was getting at with all of that was leading up to, there are people who do that, and because of the labels, and they want to be, well, I'm this way because I'm not this. I'm a different gender. I'm a third gender. And if you want to believe that, you have, by all means, please. If you want to be vocal about it, by all means. Be vocal.
Okay.
Don't jump on me if I accidentally say the wrong word, because again, I didn't expect I'm going to interact with you enough in this convenience store to really think it would be offensive. And you got some that ain't gonna care. You got some that. Go ahead.
Let's back up. But now, what about the science on it? Is there, if you get certain types of animals close to certain type chemicals, it'll turn from a boy to a girl. It'll become not even really a hermaphrodite, but it'd become asexual, won't it? it'll produce it'll make things asexual.
Oh, well, it can. I mean, well, obviously, hey, everybody and their brother. I know most folks down here in the South, because, our girls know how to grow them right. But everybody's going to have a theory it's all the hormones been put in the chicken. Oh, it's all them hormones in the chicken. And we eat lots of chicken. And, and you see girls becoming, quote, mature at much younger ages. I mean, and hey, you can just go look at pictures. Walk down the hallway and jump you back a few decades and look at just how people looked differently, Well, so you're absolutely introducing new things that wasn't meant to be, and you could be having asexually generated people who are exactly like that. They are each individually, a different one. The opportunity's there. It's nature. It's a big stirring pot.
If you think about it, look at like bees. There's like one mother, I guess, isn't it? I don't know. But there's all kinds of weird kind of creature combinations that go on out there where that exact same thing happens. And if you look now, I see people right now that have 10, 12 kids. Today, they have that many kids. And that's incredible to me. I'm like, good Lord, with a couple, I'm like I'm going to eat the ketchup sandwich this week. So I can't imagine.
That would be a mayonnaise sandwich down here in the South. Or even better, in the tomato fields, it was a tomato sandwich.
Yeah. Hey, I was joking the other day. I was like, I invited everybody over, saying we having barbecue for. I'm gonna serve everybody barbecue, and everybody showed up, and all I had was this barbecue sauce and bread. Everybody was like, "Man, where the meat at?" I'm like, "It's poor times right now."
I didn't say I was.
I appreciate y'all bringing them Coca-Colas over here.
That's right, my gosh. I didn't say nothing in my invite about meat would be present.
It just said barbecue.
That's right. BBQ.
I smoked that sauce, bro. 12 hours on the grill.
12 hours, that's right. Sitting right there on that stack. Oh, it's smoky flavor. Chop Conwood using that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, now, what kind of bread would you serve?
It's just going to be a regular light bread. It won't be nothing special. I can assure you.
Okay.
You're going to go off your keto diet. That's all I can do.
Unless you just take a drink, it's going on that bread.
There you go.
What kind is that?
That bread. It's kind of like that dog. You tell me what bread it is, and I'll tell you what that bread is.
Yeah, that's right.
He barks backwards.
Ooh, yeah, don't need to see none of that.
Or maybe I just thought he was barking backwards. I don't know. Maybe it was that CBD kicking in or something.
It must have. Woo.
Well, anyway, so, okay, well, there you go. That was an interesting conversation, young man. What do you think about it? What do you think about it?
Oh, I don't know, man. It sounds good to me.
I want to do some. I want to do some special recording here. We'll release this as a whole one later on, but we need to do some stuff I can put some echoes on. Okay. So you got to give it time. Okay.
Oh,
so,
okay, I got you.
So you just gotta. So we're just gonna say some dumb shit, just like what's one of your favorite things to say right now?
Well, double.
Double.
Yeah, double. that's just gonna be like one you throw in every now and then. Hopefully somebody hear it and figure it out.
We'll put it at the very front of the show for her. You know what mine is? My wife told me. But hey, I got to say this. I'm telling you, the motherfucker out. All right. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, bud. I'll see you later.